The Himalayan mountains, towering and majestic, present a realm of extreme conditions and unsettling phenomena. From perilous peaks to ancient mysteries, this formidable range hides some of the most captivating and chilling discoveries. Prepare to explore 15 of the Himalayas' most haunting and extraordinary features. Number 15. The Mysterious RP Cun Lake. High in the Himalayas, there's a remote and eerie spot known as RP Cun Lake, also called Skeleton Lake. Nestled at a staggering altitude, this small, frosty lake is mostly covered in ice and snow. But as the warm summer sun melts the ice, a spine-chilling sight emerges. Hundreds of ancient human skeletons scattered around the lake's edge. These bones have intrigued locals and visitors alike for many years. Some have even picked up and taken pieces of the remains. The lake has long been a point of fascination and mystery. The big question is, who were these people, and why did they end up here? Experts believe that the skeletons are from different periods, not just from a single catastrophic event. Initial theories suggested a mass death, but recent studies have shown that the bones come from various populations over several centuries. Remarkably, a 2019 DNA study revealed that some of these people were from as far away as Greece, specifically the island of Crete. This raises a fascinating question. What brought them to this remote part of northern India? One popular theory ties the bones to a local legend involving Nanda Devi, a mountain goddess. According to the legend, a king, queen, and their entourage were traveling to a shrine in the Himalayas. They were joyous and loud, which displeased Nanda Devi. In her anger, she supposedly summoned a storm of iron balls to punish them. Many of the skeletons found at the lake show signs of blunt force trauma, which could be from such a storm. Another theory suggests that fierce hailstorms, common in this area, might have been responsible for the deaths. Massive hailstones could have struck travelers unexpectedly, leading to their demise over many years. RP Cun Lake remains a compelling mystery, with each new piece of evidence adding to the story. Whether the lake's skeletons are the result of a divine curse or natural disaster, they remind us that even in death, our bones can tell incredible stories. Number 14. The Haunting Tale of the Yeti. Deep in the highest mountains of Asia, where the cold winds blow and snow never melts, lives a creature that has fascinated people for centuries, the Yeti. Also known as Jigu in Tibetan or the abominable snowman, this mysterious being is a part of rich folklore in Tibet and Nepal. The Yeti is said to be an ape-like creature, covered in white fur, roaming the rugged Himalayas. Stories of the Yeti date back to ancient writings that describe a creature with simian features. The legend took off in the 19th century, when an Indian journalist dubbed it the abominable snowman. Explorers in the 1830s reported seeing a tall, hairy being, adding to the growing myth. Over the years, the Yeti's allure only grew. Hikers and adventurers recounted tales of mysterious footprints and strange sounds. In the 1920s, a Royal Geographical Society photographer claimed to have seen the Yeti and captured photos of footprints that matched descriptions of this elusive creature. Despite efforts in the 1950s and beyond to find concrete evidence, the Yeti remained elusive. In 2008, Japanese scientist Yoshiteru Takashi and his team ventured into the Dhaulagiri 4 region, documenting 18-inch-long footprints they believed belonged to the Yeti. Takashi remains committed to finding solid proof and plans to return to Nepal and Tibet. Some speculate that the Yeti might be related to other cryptids like Bigfoot or the Australian Yowie. Others think it could be a misidentified Himalayan bear, known for standing and walking on 2 legs. However, witnesses describe the Yeti as having a high-pitched whistle, long arms, and a large head, distinguishing it from bears. Despite numerous sightings and intriguing stories, no definitive evidence of the Yeti's existence has been found. The fascination with this legendary snowman continues, inspiring expeditions and capturing imaginations around the world. Number 13. The Deadly Terrain of K2. K2 is one of the world's highest mountains, towering at 8,611 meters or 28,251 feet. Only 14 mountains on Earth reach this height, and climbing them means entering the death zone where the air is so thin that breathing becomes incredibly difficult. This extreme height makes K2 notoriously dangerous. Known as the Savage Mountain, it lives up to its name. Climbing K2 is a feat that only a few have managed, and even fewer have survived. Many climbers have lost their lives attempting to reach the summit, making it one of the deadliest peaks in the world. The mountain's danger comes from several harsh factors. First, K2 is extremely remote. It was so isolated that early surveyors simply called it K2 after labeling other nearby peaks. Getting to its base camp is a tough journey, requiring a week of climbing over glaciers and rocky trails, often in very cold and challenging conditions. K2's altitude adds to its risks. At over 8,000 meters, climbers enter the death zone where the body struggles to get enough oxygen. This can cause severe altitude sickness, making climbers weak and confused. The weather on K2 is also unpredictable and brutal. It's farther north than Everest, which means it faces strong winds and frequent avalanches. The weather can change quickly, creating dangerous conditions that can make climbing almost impossible. The climb itself is incredibly tough. The most popular route, the Abruzzi Spur, involves navigating steep rock faces, ice walls, and narrow passages. Even after reaching the summit, the descent is dangerous, with many fatalities occurring on the way down due to exhaustion and reduced mental clarity. Despite its risks, K2 is becoming a bit more accessible due to better equipment and support. But climbing this mountain still requires immense respect for its power and the dangers it presents. Number 12. The elusive snow leopard of Everest. The snow leopard is one of nature's most elusive and breathtaking creatures, roaming the rugged slopes of Mount Everest and its surrounding highlands. This rare predator is often called the ghost of the mountains due to its elusive nature and the harsh, icy environment where it lives. Snow leopards are masters of camouflage, blending perfectly with the rocky, snowy terrain of their high-altitude home in Central Asia. With its stunning thick fur and large paws that act like snowshoes, the snow leopard is perfectly adapted to the frigid temperatures of the Himalayas. Its small ears help it retain heat, while its long, powerful hind legs allow it to leap gracefully from cliff to cliff. However, these very traits that make it so remarkable also make it a target for poachers who are drawn to its beautiful fur and bones. Despite their adaptations, snow leopards face serious threats. Their population is dwindling due to habitat loss, poaching, and conflict with humans. Farmers sometimes kill these majestic cats in retaliation for attacks on livestock. Additionally, the effects of climate change and habitat fragmentation further endanger their survival. Efforts to protect snow leopards are underway, with organizations like Panthera working to conserve their habitats and educate local communities. By preserving these stunning landscapes and the unique species they support, we can help ensure that the ghost of the mountains continues to grace the high peaks of Asia for generations to come. Number 11. The frozen dead bodies on Everest. Mount Everest, towering at a breathtaking 29,032 feet, is not only the tallest mountain in the world, but also a graveyard of sorts. This harsh and icy peak is the final resting place for many climbers who have perished while attempting to conquer its heights. It's believed that hundreds of bodies are scattered across Everest's frozen slopes, earning it a somber reputation. Known as the Zone of Death, Everest is notorious for its dangers. Some of the most recognizable figures among these fallen climbers are nicknamed Sleeping Beauty and Green Boots. Despite these grim realities, the allure of Everest remains strong, with tourism and group expeditions steadily increasing. According to the Himalayan database, over 10,800 expeditions have been recorded since 2020 alone. For many climbers, reaching Everest's summit is a lifelong dream and the ultimate test of skill. Unfortunately, the mountain has claimed the lives of more than 300 climbers in recent years, and around 2/3 of them still lie on the mountain. Currently, it's estimated that around 200 bodies remain on Everest. Removing bodies from Everest is incredibly challenging. The high altitude and treacherous conditions make it nearly impossible to retrieve bodies above Camp 2, located at 21,000 feet. Helicopters can't reach these heights, so bodies must be carried down by hand, a task that requires a skilled team and can cost upwards of $70,000. Due to the cost and risk involved, most bodies are left on the mountain. Many climbers prefer this as a tribute, similar to sailors lost at sea. Interestingly, these bodies have become landmarks for climbers. They act as guideposts along the treacherous path to the summit. Number 10. The Abandoned Tibetan Monasteries. High in the Himalayas, scattered among rugged cliffs and towering peaks, lie abandoned Tibetan monasteries. silent remnants of a time when these remote sites were vibrant centers of Buddhist life. These sacred places, once alive with chants and prayers, now stand in solitude, their once grand halls slowly being reclaimed by nature. The quiet that envelops these monasteries is almost eerie, as if the echoes of the past still linger in the air. Many of these monasteries were built far from the bustling world, deliberately placed in isolated and difficult-to-reach locations. The idea behind this was simple yet profound. Only the most dedicated followers, those willing to endure the challenging journey, would be able to reach them. The spiritual significance of these sites made the arduous trek part of the pilgrim's devotion. Over time, though, as social media has brought global attention to many hidden gems, some monasteries have become more accessible through modern means like ropeways and roads. However, not all monasteries have given up their isolation. Some, like the key monastery in India's Spiti Valley, remain as remote and challenging to reach as ever. Perched at a dizzying 13,500 feet above sea level, this monastery, which dates back to the 11th century, still requires a lot of effort to reach, even with a motorable road nearby. Once inside, visitors are greeted by ancient Buddhist art, beautiful wall paintings, and sacred texts. Though many of these monasteries have been left to crumble, their history and the spiritual significance they hold continue to captivate those who seek them out. Number 9. The ghostly echoes of the Himalayas. The Himalayas, with their towering peaks and remote valleys, have always been shrouded in mystery. For centuries, strange echoes and eerie noises have haunted those brave enough to explore the high-altitude glaciers surrounding Mount Everest. Many adventurers once believed that these ghostly sounds were the cries of spirits, warning them to stay away from the mountaintop. The unexplained noises added to the region's already mystical reputation, creating tales of haunted mountains. However, in 2018, a group of scientists, led by glaciologist Dr. Yevgeny Podolsky from Hokkaido University, set out to solve the mystery behind these terrifying sounds. Their mission took them deep into the Himalayas, where they spent weeks trekking through the frigid environment to reach the Trambo Glacier system near Mount Everest. Once there, they set up camp to investigate the strange noises that had long puzzled explorers. For 3 weeks, the team endured freezing conditions, with temperatures dropping to as low as -15 degrees Celsius at night. During the day, the scientists could work in mild conditions, but as the sun set, the icy cold gripped the region, and the eerie noises began. Loud cracks and bangs echoed through the glacier, making it difficult for the researchers to sleep. By using specialized sensors to measure vibrations deep within the glacier, Dr. Podolsky and his team discovered that these nighttime sounds were not the work of ghosts or spirits. Instead, they were caused by the sharp drop in temperatures after dark. The cold caused the glaciers to contract and crack, producing loud and frightening noises. After decades of mystery, science has provided a clear explanation. The ghostly echoes of the Himalayas are simply the result of the extreme temperature shifts, causing glaciers to crack and groan under the pressure of the cold night air. Number 8. The unsettling high-altitude magnetic anomalies. In the towering heights of the Himalayas, there are places where strange things happen, things that science still can't fully explain. These high-altitude regions are home to what are called magnetic anomalies, and they have been puzzling explorers and scientists for years. Picture yourself trekking through the remote and rugged mountains, far from any city, surrounded by snow-capped peaks. Suddenly, your compass begins to spin uncontrollably, pointing in the wrong direction. You try using your phone or GPS, but they stop working or give inaccurate readings. It's as if some invisible force is messing with your equipment. This strange occurrence is not just a fluke. It's a real phenomenon that happens in certain parts of the Himalayas. These magnetic anomalies are areas where the Earth's natural magnetic field is distorted. Normally, the magnetic field is something we can rely on for navigation, but in these regions, it seems to go haywire. The reasons for these disruptions are still largely unknown, though some theories suggest that the minerals in the mountains or tectonic activity could be to blame. What makes this even more unsettling is the location. The Himalayas are already considered mystical and awe-inspiring, with their towering peaks and ancient legends. Now add the fact that even modern technology can't seem to function properly in some of these areas, and the sense of mystery deepens. People who experience these magnetic anomalies often feel disoriented or uneasy, not knowing if they can trust their tools or their senses. Number 7. The abandoned base camps of the great expeditions. The abandoned base camps of famous expeditions, like those on Mount Everest and K2, now stand as silent reminders of the bravery and challenges faced by climbers from years past. These camps, once full of life, bustling with activity as teams prepared to conquer the world's highest peaks, are now empty, left behind by the adventurers who once called them home. The site of these deserted camps is Eerie. What was once a hub of excitement and ambition has become a graveyard of memories. At these camps, you'll find remnants of tents, old climbing gear, and even trash left to the elements. Over time, the harsh environment has taken its toll on these items, making the campsites look even more desolate. It's easy to imagine the intense conditions these climbers faced: bitter cold, brutal winds, and the ever-present threat of avalanches or falls. The abandoned base camps are more than just empty places. They tell the story of human endurance and the relentless drive to reach the top of the world. In recent years, photos of these camps have surfaced online, showing piles of trash, old tents, and, unfortunately, human waste left behind by climbers. While these pictures paint a grim picture of what's left behind, there is hope. A massive cleanup campaign has started to help restore these historic sites. Volunteers and climbing teams are now working together to remove the garbage, giving new life to the mountains and honoring the spirit of the early adventurers who first dared to take on the challenge. Number 6. The Tibetan Sky Burial Rituals. The Tibetan Sky Burial is a unique and sacred ritual that reflects the deep spiritual beliefs of Tibetan Buddhism. It's not just a funeral, it's a way to honor both life and death, while embracing compassion and the natural cycle of life. Sky burial involves placing the deceased's body on a mountaintop to be consumed by vultures. This ritual is tied to the Buddhist belief in impermanence, the idea that life and death are part of a continuous cycle. In this tradition, the body is seen as an empty vessel after death, and the act of offering it to birds is a final gift, symbolizing generosity and compassion. It's similar to the story of Buddha offering his body to save starving tigers, showing selflessness even in death. One of the most important places for this ritual is the Drigung Monastery, located about 200 kilometers east of Lhasa. Founded in the 12th century, this monastery is the heart of the sky burial tradition in Tibet. Families bring their loved ones from all over the region, sometimes traveling hundreds of kilometers, to have their bodies blessed and laid to rest here. Before the burial, a ceremony called Fawa is performed by the monks. This prayer helps guide the soul on its journey to the next life. The body is then taken to the burial site, where a skilled master carefully prepares it by separating the hair flesh and bones. Vultures, seen as sacred animals, are then fed the remains. While tourists may not be allowed to witness this private ritual in person, the sky burial teaches a profound lesson about living with purpose, compassion, and understanding of life's natural cycles. It serves as a reminder to appreciate every moment and live with kindness. Number 5. The strikingly isolated valleys of Zanskar. The valleys of Zanskar, nestled in the northernmost region of India's Jammu and Kashmir, are known for their remote beauty and isolation. These valleys, part of the Kargil district, are surrounded by towering mountains and harsh weather, which makes them feel almost like a world apart. During the long winter months, Zanskar is cut off from the rest of the world due to heavy snowfall on the dangerous mountain passes, leaving the area eerily quiet and nearly deserted. Padum, the main town in Zanskar, lies about 250 kilometers from Kargil, the nearest town. Even in good weather, traveling this distance takes at least 8 hours by car, and that's only during the summer months when the roads are clear. For much of the year, snow and ice block the roads, making the area completely inaccessible by vehicle. Maps of the Zanskar Valley often mark where the road ends, highlighting the fact that many villages can only be reached by foot. During the winter, these places are cut off, leaving the inhabitants to rely on their own resources. One of the most remarkable features of Zanskar in winter is the Chadar Trek. As the Zanskar River freezes, it becomes the only path for locals to access the outside world. Walking on this frozen river is not just a necessity for the people of Zanskar, but also an adventure for those who dare to take the journey. The Chadar Trek is considered one of the most unique and challenging treks in the world, offering breathtaking views of the frozen river surrounded by towering cliffs. The isolation of Zanskar contributes to its mystical reputation. While the valleys are incredibly beautiful, their desolation, especially during winter, gives them an almost ghostly feel. Number 4. The desolate ghost town of Leh. Leh, the capital of Ladakh in India, is a place that feels almost like a ghost town during the harsh winter months. The streets are empty, and the cold is biting, creating an eerie and desolate atmosphere. But Leh holds a rich history, with Leh Palace standing as its crown jewel. Built by King Senga Namgyal in the 1600s, this grand palace overlooks the old town and looks even more magnificent at night when lights illuminate its walls. As you wander through Old Town, you'll feel as though you've traveled back in time. The old mud brick houses, narrow winding lanes, and traditional architecture transport you to one of the last surviving Tibetan Himalayan urban settlements. Each corner has a story to tell, whether it's from centuries-old traditions or ancient local folklore. One such tale is about the Manmo mythical enchantresses who are said to roam these lands. These beautiful, mysterious women were believed to feed on clay and salt, and they were always in search of lonely travelers. While these stories may now only live in memory, the folklore adds a magical layer to the already fascinating streets of Leh. Leh is also home to the 17th century Jama Masjid, standing next to the vibrant Leh market. The market brings a modern touch with its cafes, local food spots, and colorful Tibetan shops. But even in these bustling areas, the echoes of the past linger, especially in the ancient bakeries that make traditional treats like naan, roti, and the once-forgotten baked samosa. The baked samosa, thought to have originated from Central Asia, was reintroduced by a local baker who remembered its taste from her childhood. Though much of Leh's old structures are fading, organizations like Ladakh Arts and Media Organization are working to preserve its cultural heritage. They have restored several ancient houses, keeping the stories and memories alive for future generations. In this quiet, cold, and mystical place, the past continues to breathe through its narrow lanes, historic landmarks, and timeless folklore. Number 3. The Eerie ice formations of the Siachen Glacier. The Siachen Glacier, located in Kashmir, is one of the most extreme and mysterious places on Earth. At a dizzying altitude of about 17,700 feet, it's a world where life as we know it is nearly impossible. Temperatures here can plummet to an unimaginable minus 55 degrees Celsius, and blizzards can rage for weeks. The glacier stretches over 70 kilometers and winds through a rugged, barren landscape, earning it the nickname White Snake due to its long, winding appearance. Despite the harshness of the environment, the glacier plays an important role in the region's water system. It is the source of the Nubra River, which feeds into the Indus River, eventually reaching Pakistan and the Arabian Sea. The icy rivers of the Siachen Glacier are formed when smaller glaciers, like the Lolafond and Taram Share, merge into its massive body. From above, it looks like a snow-covered river of ice surrounded by towering, jagged peaks of the Himalayas, which stand stark and bare, far too high to support any trees or vegetation. What adds to the eerie beauty of the Siachen Glacier are the formations created by the constant shifting and movement of the ice. Crevasses, deep cracks in the glacier, can appear out of nowhere and are large enough to swallow a person whole. These features, combined with the swirling snow and ice, make the glacier seem almost alive, as if the land itself is constantly changing and reshaping. Since the 1980s, the glacier has been at the center of a bitter conflict between India and Pakistan, earning the title of the world's highest battleground. Soldiers from both nations have braved the extreme cold and unpredictable weather, making it a place of both strategic importance and immense danger. In recent years, however, there have been talks of turning this region into a peace park, allowing it to shift from a site of conflict to one of tranquility and conservation. Number 2. The creepy Yeti footprints on Everest. In 1951, something strange happened on Mount Everest that sparked a worldwide fascination with the mysterious Yeti. On November 8th, British explorer Eric Shipton and his team, including Dr. Michael Ward, were exploring a glacier near the base of Everest, over 17,000 feet above sea level. They were surprised when they stumbled upon a series of large footprints in the snow far away from any human presence. These footprints measured about 12 inches long and 5 inches wide. What made this discovery so puzzling was the fact that the footprints didn't match any known animals that could survive at such a high altitude. They didn't resemble the prints of humans, bears, or yaks creatures that were familiar in the region. Instead, the locals, particularly the Sherpas, recognized them as Yeti footprints. The Yeti, sometimes called the abominable snowman, was believed to be a mysterious creature that roamed the mountains, but until then it was largely considered a myth. Shipton, realizing the importance of the discovery, took a photograph of the footprints with his ice axe next to them for scale. This image soon became famous, as it was one of the first pieces of evidence suggesting the Yeti might be real. Tom Bourdillon, another member of the expedition, also saw the prints and later wrote home saying, "The abominable snowman is not a myth." Shipton's photograph made headlines around the world, and instead of being dismissed as a hoax, it fueled curiosity and belief. In the 1950s, explorers like Shipton were trusted, and his discovery marked the beginning of what we now call Yeti mania, a fascination that continues to this day. Number 1. The mysterious cloud forests of Bhutan. The cloud forests of Bhutan are truly mystical. These forests, nestled high in the mountains and often hidden by thick fog, seem like something from another world. The mist and dense greenery create a peaceful yet mysterious atmosphere that feels almost magical. One of the best places to experience Bhutan's cloud forests is on the hike up to Paro Taktsang, also known as Tiger's Nest Monastery. Perched on the side of a cliff, the monastery is a major Buddhist pilgrimage site. As you climb the steep trail, surrounded by pine trees and shrouded in fog, it becomes clear why Bhutan is often called the kingdom in the clouds. The walk is quiet, with only the sounds of wind, bells, and prayer flags fluttering in the breeze. For centuries, Bhutan was isolated from the outside world. Tucked between India and China, the country was difficult to reach due to its mountainous landscape. It wasn't until 1974 that Bhutan opened its doors to tourists. Around that time, King Jigme Singye Wangchuck introduced an idea that set Bhutan apart: gross national happiness. Instead of focusing on economic growth, Bhutan measures its success by the happiness and well-being of its people. Even today, Bhutan's commitment to nature is clear. More than 75% of the country is covered in forest, with a quarter of the land set aside as protected areas. This makes Bhutan one of the greenest countries in the world. Tourism is growing, but the government carefully controls it, ensuring that Bhutan's natural beauty remains unspoiled. Visitors are required to pay a nightly fee, which helps limit the number of tourists and protect the country's pristine landscapes. Bhutan's cloud forests, with their tranquil beauty, offer a glimpse into a world where nature and spirituality are deeply intertwined. What do you think about these extraordinary features of the Himalayas? Let us know your opinion in the comments below.